In this video, we're going to be looking at a few specific modifiers. We're going to be looking at the volume select modifier, the soft selection modifier, and the push modifier, and how we can create a surface or surfaces that can adapt to objects that are below them, on top of them, or intersecting with them. This specific combination of modifiers that we're going to use is also a really good way to analyze a form that you might have, whether it might be a topographic or surface or buildings or a built form that you want to see the specific rise and fall of that form in a really analytical kind of way. So to start off first, to show how we can create a form that is adaptive in this way, I'm just going to show you first an example of what the finished product is going to look like and then how we got there. So this is an example of how we can apply this turbo smooth push volume select modifier to a topography. And this topography that we've applied it to is a 1 kilometre radius of Albion Station in Victoria. And as you can see with this heat map, we're able to see the areas where there's more open space, areas where there's higher levels of density, and make assumptions of the type of density and the type of land use that is going on here. And also be aware of how much space we have to work with for any new proposed infrastructure that we might want to place within this 1 kilometre radius of Albion Station. So the surface on top, as we can see by this heat map style thing, is adapting to what's underneath, which is the topo surface, the topography of the Albion Station site. So if we were to actually, to show you further, if we were to actually select the topo surface, the Albion site topography, like so, and if we were to move that around, you'll notice that our heat map or our modifiers adapt to the new location of the topographic surface of Albion site. So what you've got here is a highly adaptable and parametric sort of system, which you can allow for things to constantly evolve and adapt to. And this is just one way you can use these modifiers to create surfaces that are constantly adapting and responding to each other symbiotically. So how did we get here? Let's start from the beginning. So to start with, we're going to want to create in our create little tab here, little plus sign, we're going to want to create a plane. So this plane will be the surface that adapts or evolves to the topography that we're going to place underneath. Now what we're going to do is to get our topography, so we're going to use our Map Room plugin, which we went through in our how-to guides on how to download and install this. So we'll click on our Map Room plugin. And in our Map Room plugin, we're going to just select the OpenStreetMap satellite option. Click on this tab here, now that we've created that. And in our map space section, we're going to find a location. And let's find a bit of a fun location. Let's look at something like New York City. So we'll update our space. And now in our OpenStreetMap tab or layer here, we're going to change the radius of what we're collecting data from. We're going to change it to 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre just to keep our sample size relatively small and fast to download. And once we've done that, we're going to go download and draw OSM data. So this bar here will show the progress of downloading that data. And if we zoom in, we can see our data there. And then we're going to go into our style sheet section, choose the OSM style sheet and apply our style sheet. So once we've done that, you can see all our shape files or our 2D lines have been extruded to display the heights of the certain buildings in New York City as identified by OpenStreetMaps. I'm going to change it to default shading so we can see that a little easier. So it's come up really nicely. We've got a lot of shapes that we can play around with. So as you can see, our plane is quite large for this. So we might delete this plane and create a new one for the size of New York City that we've got here. So let's just close the OpenStreetMaps dialog box and let's create a new plane one more time. Like so. And we might just change the size of it to be the same as the width. All right, and we'll just delete these here. So once we're happy with that, we've got our topography and we've got our plane. What we need to do is add specific modifiers to this so that we can allow for this plane to adapt to the topography like we did with our Albion site. In order to make that easier, we're going to make sure that our topography is all connected. So by selecting one of the elements here, we're going to go to the modifier list and we're going to add an edit poly modifier. And by adding this edit poly modifier, if we scroll down to our edit geometry section, we can then attach geometry to this to make sure it's connected to everything else. So we click attach and now we can go by adding all the geometry that we want to be added to this selection. So just clicking on all those buildings that we want to be attached, and this will make morphing the topography and these buildings together later on a lot easier because we won't have to do things individually. We can do things as one big group.